Alright, I am back with the Himi Miya Gouache. So, on my last video, it seemed like people were interested in getting a Lightfast test, and also interested in me testing out the Himi Miya watercolor, which I didn't even know they had watercolors, actually. And also, I thought I could compare some of these to some more expensive gouache and see if we could see the difference, or, you know, if there was a quality discrepancy because these gouache are so inexpensive. So I thought that that could be fun too. So we are going to first and foremost see how these gouache reactivate 9 weeks later, and we're gonna see what they look like, how well they reactivate, if they even need to be reactivated. I don't know. This box did have a gasket on the inside, so maybe it won't be so bad. I have no idea. Let's find out. All right. Oh, I did get a question on my last video about the smell. And I will say that yes, they do smell like a plastic toy. I'm surprised I totally forgot to mention it in my original first impression video of these paints. Normally a smell is something that really I notice immediately. I have a very sensitive nose. But I do, yes, they do smell very plasticky, like a toy. Alright, now the first thing I'm noticing once I open these is that several of the colors, looks like the Midlam yellow, the ultramarine, the titanium white, and the umber are the worst ones, but it looks like a lot of them have cracked, which I did kind of wonder if that would happen the same way that it happened in the watercolor palette, the travel watercolor palette that I set up originally. So I am not surprised necessarily to see that. I'm actually more surprised it didn't happen in more colors. But anyway, so yeah, they're cracked. It looks like, if you can see, they are cracked way down like this. The yellow is cracked all the way down to the bottom of the container almost, and so is the titanium white. It's cracked all the way down. The umber's got a deep crack, but it doesn't quite go all the way down. The ultramarine also has a pretty deep crack, but I don't think it goes all the way down either. But yeah, so there's definitely some cracks and crevices, and they look very dry. Some of them look very dry. Not all of them. The Prussian blue still looks, wet and gooey. So does the black, so do the greens, and maybe the deep red. But alright, the first thing I'm going to do is see which ones are still able to just paint straight out of the container, if any, and by adding water, I'm going to see if I can reactivate them a little bit. So I noticed as I was swatching and seeing if colors were still activated, the ochre has sort of like separated. I don't know if you can see. Let me get close. There's like a liquid, and the grass green has done so as well. You can see there's like a separation. There's liquid pooled there, and it's not water from my brush. I've been dipping my brush in water to rinse it and then drying it very carefully with paper towel. So that's not water from my brush, that's water separated out from the paint, interestingly. Just thought I would mention, so far those are the only two I see that have done that, but... Oh, actually, I guess the jade also over here seems to have done that as well. The deep red... this one has also done it a little bit. It's kind of harder to see. It's right in here. You can see where there's sort of some separated floaty bits. It's interesting. Okay, so in doing my swatches over here, you could see that this Midlam yellow and the titanium white were the ones that were the worst off. I couldn't get any color payoff out of them almost at all. So I added half a dropper of water to each of them, just plain water, and mixed them up to see if I could get them back to a paint-like consistency. And it seems to have worked, so it looks like you can at least bring them back. Unlike the gouache from my travel watercolor kit that I set up, there was really no way. I think it has to do with the jelly cup design, that you can continue to mix it up. It doesn't all dry out, just like sort of the top dries out. Because once I started mixing up the paint, I did find that there was still wet paint in there. It's just very gummy and very thick. I think that's mostly a testament to the cup design more so than the quality of the paint. And so I will be right back. I'm going to add water to all of these and mix them up so we can prepare our Lightfastness test and our comparison to a higher quality gouache. Did reconstitute. A few of them maybe are a little bit too liquid. I might have added a little too much water, but anyway, so we are going to test the Himi Miya Gouache against some more expensive Schmincke gouache that I have purchased. So these here are the Schmincke gouaches I have. I only have a few tubes because they were a bit expensive. I have titanium gold ochre, helio turquoise, neutral gray, titanium white, and English red. And also, in my art supplies, I discovered I do have this tube of primary yellow gouache. It is Caran d'Ache. So I am also going to test it against this one, just so I have a little bit more variety. I believe this gouache was in an art box video that I did. If anybody saw that one, I will link it in the card if you're interested. But anyway, so yeah, I'm going to also test this one. Now, to be entirely fair, I'm only going to use colors that are comparable to the colors that I have in the more expensive gouache. So let me swatch these and I will compare them to my swatch card and see which ones they look the most similar to. I'll be right back. Okay, here are my swatches of my 5 colors. I didn't swatch the titanium white because I figure I'll just use the titanium white Himi Miya Gouache. You can't see this anyway if I swatch it, so it doesn't matter. But when compared to these colors, I think I'm gonna go with ochre, midlam yellow, umber, black, and this one it's kind of somewhere between Prussian blue and acid blue. I guess it's closer to Prussian blue, but it's lighter and a little more green than that. So it's not an exact match, but it's probably as close as I'm gonna get. So yeah, those are the colors we are going to use. So I'm gonna pull those colors out of my palette and then figure out what I'm gonna draw, and I'll paint 1/2 with the Himi Miya Gouache and 1/2 with the more expensive Schmincke and Caran d'Ache gouache. And we will see how they stack up with each other. And here we have the finished Ponyo. This side is Himi Miya Gouache, and this side is Schminke Gouache. Oh, and Caran d'Ache, right. 1 tube of Caran d'Ache, 4 tubes of Schminke. Anyway, so, let me get a little closer, and you can see the Schminke gouache, the more expensive gouache on the right-hand side, is definitely, it has a nicer finish, it's a little softer, it makes nicer shadows. I definitely think this side looks better. It seemed to absorb into the water a little bit better, so it made nicer looking clouds, a cloud effect, if you will. The other side's darker. I know the colors weren't exactly the same, they were just what I happened to have on hand and as close as I could get to each other, but you can see that the colors are a little more muddy on the Himi Miya Gouache, and they are, you know, there's a little bit, the finish is a little bit more harsh and blocky. They look more like poster paints on this side as opposed to something like opaque watercolor, which is what gouache is. So, I mean, the Himi Miya Gouache side doesn't look bad, certainly, but you can definitely see the difference over here when compared to the more expensive gouaches. So, actually, now that I've used the Schminke gouache, I've had it for a while, I just never actually used it. Now that I have used it, I actually kind of feel a little spoiled because I actually really like this side much better. But, I mean, these are certainly fine to play with, like I said in my last video. And I don't know, I liked the Himi Miya Gouache better when I hadn't used the more expensive gouache. But now that I've used the more expensive gouache, I'm less impressed by the Himi Miya, unfortunately. But anyway, let me know in the comments which side you like better. Which do you think is sort of is more, I don't know, more? Which side is more? Which side do you like better? I especially feel like in the dress you can really see the difference between the more expensive gouache versus the less expensive gouache. That like shading, and in the skin a little bit too. Let's get a little closer. But it just really, you can really see that shading better. It's less blotchy. It seems to almost take water better. That might be what I'm getting at. That might be what I'm actually seeing that I like better. Is that the more expensive gouache seems to be more water soluble. Maybe that has to do with how many fillers and additives are in each paint. Maybe there are more fillers and additives in the Himi Miya Gouache, so it sort of like suspends less in water, or it's harder to suspend in water. But anyway, so here we have a Ponyo. I'm not really sure why I decided to do Ponyo, but that's what I thought of, so that's what I did. Now we are going to move on to the Lightfast test. For that, I have here a sheet I have prepared. It's a sheet of Arches Aquarelle watercolor paper. And I have marked off a place for everybody. I'm going to paint a stripe of each color at the top. Or, I'm sorry, each color in each row as necessary. And I'm going to cut this section in half. This side will stay in the dark, and this side will go in the sun. And I'll leave it for, well, we'll check in maybe a month. If nothing's changed, we'll go longer. Also, I did want to point out, someone corrected me in my last video. that these are actually pigment-based paints. The reason that they are inexpensive is because gouache has a lot of fillers, since it's not just pigment in a binder, there are other fillers that make it opaque. So these are actually pigment-based paints. But anyway, yeah, so we were gonna prep our Lightfastness test. Alright, here is my Lightfastness test. I'm going to take this one, the side, and put it in an envelope and stick it in a drawer and not look at it again. And this side I am going to put somewhere that gets full sunlight as often as possible. I mean, it's summertime, I live in the Northeast United States, so, you know, as much sun as it can possibly get, which should be a lot. And we will reconvene on this in, I'm gonna say a month. Okay, so it has been a month. It is August 3rd, and I took the section that I cut off and taped it to the dashboard of my car. Because I don't park in a garage, I park out in my driveway. And my car is almost constantly in sunlight. And we've been having a lot of sun and not a lot of rain recently. We kind of had a mild drought situation going on, so suffice to say it's been very sunny. Anyway, so now we are going to compare. I haven't looked at this myself. We are going to compare the colors I painted to the original colors. Ready? Dun da da da. Let's see. Oh, alright. So actually these did a lot better than I thought that they would, shockingly. There are some noticeable differences. Oh, hold on, the whites are a little off of the screen. Let me just, there we go. Okay, so let's see. It looks like the yellow did fine. The Midlam yellow did fine. So did the Ponyo. Not really. Here, I'll zoom in real close so we can see. Alright. So, we have Midlam yellow looks fine. Ponyo looks fine. Deep red is a little splotchy. You can see there are definitely some light patches, but it's not too bad. The rose, however, is noticeably different, like it's very different. Right out of the tube, it's much more solid. It's become almost transparent, interestingly. And then the violet has done the same thing. The violet's an even more drastic change. It's very interesting. Which, to be fair, magenta and violet are usually not very light fast colors. So this result isn't particularly surprising. It's just, I guess I've been looking at this one every day on my dashboard, and I just didn't realize how much it had changed, because it all looked normal to me because I've been looking at it for, you know, a month. Anyway, moving on. Ultramarine doesn't look too different. It also looks a little, I don't know how to describe it. I'm not even sure you can see it on camera. It's just a little splotchy. It's the best way I can get a little closer. There, okay, now it looks like you can kind of see. Okay, so if you compare to compare this one to the, it's like you can see the texture of the paper better through. It's like it's become more transparent. Very slightly, but still, it's like it's become more transparent. So that's what I mean when I say, again, it's like the rose. It's like this one up here, the rose. It's become, you can see the bumps in the paper. There are like dark spots and light spots. It's definitely more transparent is the best word I have. Okay, so moving on. So when I say it's become like splotchy and transparent, that's what I mean. Acid blue looks okay. So again, it's still got that like slightly bumpy texture of the paper showing through a little bit. Jade looks alright. Jade already looked a little iffy, a little bumpy, if you will. So it still looks the same as it did, put it that way. So does pale green. Pale green still looks pretty much the same as it did a month ago. And grass green. So the greens are pretty good. The greens seem pretty light fast. They don't seem to have changed very much at all. Yellow ochre looks the same as it did. Earth yellow looks the same as it did. Umber looks the same as it did. Burnt umber. Yeah, burnt umber still looks the same as it did. Black. Now black is a little bit gray. Black has turned a little bit gray in the month, so black is less light fast than some of the others. Prussian blue actually seems to have done okay. It's not that really midnight blue that it was. It's definitely lightened up a bit, but it's still a pretty dark blue. It's not bad. And then for the whites, neither of them have yellowed or anything like that, so that's good. I have had white paint yellow in the sun before, so. Let me know if you would like an update on this. Maybe I could do another Himi Miya Gouache video. You know, I'll let it sit on my I'll tape it to my dashboard I'll tape this little strip to my dashboard for, you know, I don't know, 5 more months. And we'll see in 6 months if, you know, maybe rose and violet will completely disappear off the paper. I don't know. But yeah, that was super interesting. It's much more of a change in some of them than I actually expected. Because like I say, this one's been sitting on my dashboard and it just all looked the same. I didn't think anything had changed. For the entire month I've been driving around, I've been thinking, was there really a point to doing this? Like, is there gonna be a reason to put this video up? But we did get a little bit of an interesting result here. And you know, that's cool. It's interesting, like I say. But yeah, so that is the end of this little section. Please like and subscribe. If you like this video, let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in another Lightfastness update, you know, in a few more months. See if we can get an even more of a difference in these two or any of the others that started to look a little iffy. Don't forget to ring the bell so that YouTube actually tells you when I upload videos. Let me know what you think of the Himi Miya Gouache versus the, I guess, more professional gouache, the artist grade gouache. The side-by-side comparison picture, I'll put it up on the screen again for you so you can remember what it looks like. Which side do you like better? Like I said, I already shared my opinion. The more quote-quote professional side looks a little bit less muddy, a little more vibrant, a little nicer, I think. But maybe that's just in person. Maybe on video you can't tell. I don't know. Let me know what you think. And I guess until next time, I will talk to all of you soon. Bye.